The Science Weekly, an industry pundit podcast about the tech and innovation of the 21st century. An open discussion between industry experts to uncover how emerging technologies can help solve current societal issues.
Today we have Kostas Sisamos, one of the founders of Engino, who is kind enough to accept our invitation and join us today. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Can you please tell us your exciting story from starting in the basement of the house, turning into an international company, and most importantly, being a primary school teacher and turning into an entrepreneur, the journey?
It's a long story with Engino. It started 2004. I was a primary teacher at the time, and I was specializing in design and technology because my background was from mechanical engineering as well. So I had 2 degrees in pedagogy and engineering. And I was teaching design and technology, and I found that there is a problem with the method we teach. And an idea came to me to develop a system of plastic connectors that would help children make models easier. Because I was an engineer, I started designing them on AutoCAD. And then I realized that I needed a lot of money to make injection molds. At the time, there was no investor ecosystem. So I was reading in the internet, how can I find some money for that? I spoke to family, to friends, and asked them for 10,000 for this, 10,000 for that, but everybody was laughing. Nobody was willing to give money. And I remember a story. I have a friend who is a barber, and I asked him to invest 10,000 to get 10% of Engino, and he said no. And after 5 years, he said, I made the biggest mistake not to accept. But anyway, so we found, at that time, it was a business incubator scheme from the Ministry of Industry, a small fund. And we managed to get that fund after doing the proposal. And I had to leave education in order to work full-time on developing Engino. It was just myself at the beginning. Gradually, we hired more people. Initially, a business administrator, then a graphic designer, then a mechanical engineer, then a teacher. Now we are more than 50 people at Engino. We launched the product 2007. We got many awards from the beginning, so it was a very good, let's say, initial kickstart. Unfortunately, 2008 it was the financial crisis globally, and there were very few entrepreneurs that would be willing to buy a new product and distribute it. So we had to relaunch, redevelop our range to have lower price points. So Engino has went through a big journey over the last 18 years of reconfiguring and refining and re-expressing ourselves, and by developing new products year after year. So it has been a big journey so far.
Oh, it sounds like an exciting and fun and a bumpy road as well.
More bumpy than fun, but I guess I get very often a question about how can you make Engino to be more fun for kids, because it's a more technical toy. And I said it's fun for those who like technical toys. So I guess for an entrepreneur who takes this journey, the fun part is to go through the bumps and the ups and downs.
And I love playing with those toys. Even like I'm waiting for my son to grow so I can buy for him, so I play. He's too young now, so it will be obvious that I bought it for myself. So I'm waiting a bit more.
It depends. Now we have for the age of 3.
Okay.
And we are planning to launch for the age of 1.5 soon.
If you do that, I can. We're 1.5 now, so
okay. So we increase the base of consumers.
That's good. That's good. So you develop a lot of products, and this takes a lot of research, I guess, a lot of design work in the background. Does all the products that you work on in the lab, they get commercialized? Do they bring everything to the market? How does that go?
Yeah. We have a talent for utilizing and maximizing all the resources and assets. So not everything went into the market, but we have found that over the years, it's very regular that we take an idea that was taken up to 10%, 20, or even 100%, and there is a new need, and with a little bit of work, we can reshape it and launch it again. So I might say that we had zero products that never went into the market. Even when it was a small launch, still we made the money of developing them. Not only because of the sales, but because of the side revenue of the research funding. So in a way, when you develop a new product, it might not go into the market, but you get the funding to develop it. And when it goes to the market, it might not perform as well as you had hoped. But combining the two together, it is still, let's say, a reasonable business. But it's hard to have all the products succeeding. So I can say that 100% we succeed on a small scale on all the products, but it could be around 10% that make it in a bigger scale.
It's very interesting what you're saying. So even though the market, in terms of income, revenue generation, the product might not do good, the knowledge that comes from that, or the R&D that brings out something else, is complementing other products. So in the bigger picture, everything is working out.
It's a funny story. One of my older employees has been with us for 14 years, a graphic designer, and he's trying to mentor the new people that come. And a new person that comes at the Juno is very overwhelmed with the many things that we do, and they think that something is wrong. And he came up with this story that he says that Kostas has many balloons. That's the ideas, and when the time is right, one balloon comes down. And that's the reality. When you have a big library of ideas and concepts that have some maturity and some not, when the time is right and the market is acceptable, or there is a research opportunity, then we just take that balloon and we open it.
And that's how innovation happens.
Yeah.
That's great. I wanted to ask you a bit about your experience of patents of all these discoveries. How easy was it in Cyprus to do it, the process, your experience with it?
We have more than 100 patents so far. I'm not very excited. I'm a bit disappointed with the entire patent process. From the beginning, I wanted to invest in having patents. In the beginning, we didn't have money to pay someone to write the patent. So I studied and I wrote myself the text for the first patents. I made myself the applications through a legal office here in Cyprus that didn't have the experience. They were just taking from point A to point B. Nonetheless, we had to do that as well. I found out with my first patent that it was rejected mostly because it was 6 patents in one, and they said we can only accept the first 15 claims, and you have to make different applications for the other 5. And I didn't have the money to make another 5 applications, so we lost the opportunity for having another 5 patents. And over the years, I found out that it's difficult to do it in Cyprus, at least 15 years ago. I don't know now. So I work mostly with patent attorneys abroad in the US that they have experience in drafting, but that's more costly because you have to pay someone for drafting the patent. But from my experience, if you don't draft the patent well, you end up in paying more and perhaps losing all the rights. So it's worth investing a bit more. On the other hand, patents really mean nothing because you have to be able to enforce patents. We had been copied in China, for example. We found out who they were. We paid 20,000 to lawyers to go after them. And after a year, they didn't even send a letter because they had to go through a process. And then I said, okay, we stop. And all I will do is just innovate more and be one step ahead of all the infringers. So having patents is important. It's important especially when you get investors, if you get investors. It's important if you are so successful and you have enough money to enforce the patent. But it's more important to be one step ahead and innovate and and be first to the market. That is the most important from my experience.
It sounds like a great strategy. If you're always one step ahead, even if they copy you, they will never catch you.
Exactly.
That sounds great. My next question is about, you touched upon it a bit, but most of the Steam toys are usually free plus. And I checked it a bit on internet because I was looking to buy for myself and I didn't excuse. Why is that usually? And a bit about your new products, if you can share info.
Well, STEM or STEAM is a debatable name. STEM was invented a few years ago, around 10 years ago, when the governments in the United States, in the EU, they decided that they had to put money in the ecosystem in order to develop the next generation of engineers, scientists, inventors that would develop new products and economies that would compete with the Asian growing economies. In my opinion, that came too late. They are already a bit ahead of us and growing rapidly. So it was too late, but nonetheless, the STEM trend started around 10 years ago. It has two different meanings. One meaning is the STEM disciplines. So STEM is engineering, it's mathematics, it's what we call in Cyprus positive sciences, let's say. So that's one meaning, the more traditional one. And then there is the pedagogical meaning, that STEM is a methodology for teaching. And this methodology has holistic, encompassing projects, open projects, through which students learn about the different disciplines, but they have the motivation to learn because they go through the process of engineering, design, and problem solving. So they have the motivation to find the solution to a problem that is interesting for them. So STEM becomes a methodology. And the problem with STEM as a methodology is that it cannot be easily taught because it requires the knowledge of many different disciplines plus the pedagogical discipline. And in our school systems, it's very structured. So you have mathematics, you have physics, you have computer science, and so on. So no one has in isolation all the disciplines together, and no one is willing to allocate part of their curriculum, let's say the hours, in order to do bigger projects and collaborate together. And this has left STEM to be mostly part of the after-school domain, because in the after school you have karate, you have sports, you have music, so it became more of an afternoon activity. And because STEM includes many disciplines and has many layers, there is again another confusion. What is really STEM? Is it a constructional toy that has creativity? Can you call that STEM? Is it something that has content, theory, it has experiments? Is it one or the other? And again, there is a big debate in the industry and in the academia as well. Now, they came up with a proposal that if you combine two, then you are STEM. So if you combine science with mathematics or mathematics with engineering, then it means you are STEM. I don't agree with that. For me, it's still the methodology. But because you have a lot of content, experiments, theory, and open problem solving, I guess that's why you don't see something for under 3, because the kids are too young to go through that process. But in reality, when a young child explores the environment and they invent something of their own, even just to make noise by knocking on something, that could be called STEM, because it's a process of understanding the environment and solving problems.
Wow. Now I understand. And yeah, because most probably the reason, as you said, that people they couldn't fit it in the methodology or let's say the description, so they couldn't identify the toys in that way, but the new ones will be considered in that way.
I expect in the next 10 years there will be more clarity as to what is STEM, and perhaps separated in different layers and categories. But for now, it's still a confusing domain.
But maybe it's better, because sometimes putting things in concrete boxes kills the creativity and innovation and the spectrum that you
true.
can create. So
That's true. When we launched Engino around 2007, we did an exhibition with the University of Cyprus, and we invited Dr. Toy from US. She's an expert in toys and has an award, and Dr. Toy. So we got an award, and I invited her to come here in a conference with teachers. And together we had the idea to have like a construction toy exhibition. So STEM at the time was not existing, so it was construction toys. And she had the network to invite different brands. I'm not saying the name, but so we had small brands, big brands that they sent all their samples here to me, and we made like an exhibition. And I had to admire the innovation that went into every different construction system. And it's what you said, that when it's open, there is more innovation space, and it's amazing how the human ingenuity can find different ways to make exactly the same thing.
Exactly. My next question is, as a parent, as a founder of a tech company that helps kids to learn and innovate and creativity, this is a dilemma that everybody asks. What is your opinion about leaving the kids using tablets and phones and technology from a very early age, opposing not to?
Well, I had the experience. I have 5 kids, and I always had to battle with them when they were younger, around 10, 15 years ago, not to use the computer, specify the time, the software. But I found out that it's impossible to restrict that, and it's even useless to try to do it. So the alternative would be to provide them better tools in order to use technology the right way. And the problem at the time, and even so, even until now, we do not have as parents the right equipment and tools for protecting the kids and empowering them to still use the technologies in the right way. So we focus at Engino very much into developing a holistic approach that has the construction system, which is plastic, so that's tangible experience. But then we have the robotics with software, our software that is created with a step-by-step approach, and now we are investing to develop even more software so that we develop gradually a full ecosystem where a kid can go inside and the parent could feel safe because their kid is on good hands. It's a big project. It takes years to accomplish. But I think this is what the parent need. They need companies that have the ethics to develop software and products that will respect the needs of the children and the needs of the parents.
Yeah, and I think often the case is that the parents are not aware of the upcoming, and they're more afraid than the kids of adapting the technology than the kids, because they'll be living with it anyway when they grow up.
That's true. We found, for example, we launched robotics for preschool age, and we have a resistance because kids say we don't want our kids to be on tablet, and we try to explain, yes, they will be on a tablet inevitably. So why not give them the tablet with the software that will help them learn, develop their 21st century skills, coding skills, and so on. But sometimes it's the fact that when you have a technology you don't understand, you reject it completely. I think it takes time for also parents to embrace technologies, and to be safe, they reject it completely. I'm not sure how many years it will take until we have that maturity. In reality, there are very dangerous technology. I have my own kids, and you can see that they are in one software, and you get a pop-up that drives them elsewhere. So it's not that simple. From our side, we are doing the best we can to develop this ecosystem on our own and implement it not only through our traditional means, but also through the new idea we have now with the franchising of our own education centers, where we are offering these technologies to the full extent. Because the problem is when a parent will buy the product, they don't know how to teach or help their child do coding, build the models, and learn. So we realize there is a need in the market for a facilitated process that the parent can bring their kid and entrust a professional to help them develop these skills. And what is the best way than to create our own centers for that?
Well, I will ask this as a bonus because you touched up on different things. You mentioned creating an ecosystem with software and physical tools, and then you mentioned creating your own centers. So what else is coming up for Enjuno that we should look up to?
Well, the creation of our own centers has been a process for the last 10 years, but the market was not mature to accept it. In the last 2-3 years, things have changed, so now we are putting a lot of emphasis on that. We also put a big emphasis on the B2C strategy, business to consumer, because we realized over the years that by selling our products to distributors sell to stores sell to parents, but you lose all the communication in between, and the final user do not really understand what they're buying. So we are developing a subscription box business now. So a parent who has kids of the age of 3 all the way to 16, they will have a monthly set as a solution to come at home with lesson plans, activities on a weekly basis, and they can get this feeling of safety that every month they will have something for their kid to be playing with, but also acquiring the skills and the knowledge of STEM at the same time. So this is the next big thing for Enjuno, the subscription box, let's say, series.
Wow, it sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. It was great having you, and I'm wishing you all the best. And I'm looking to buy your products for my kid.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We hope that we develop products that will make both parents and kids happy.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This podcast is brought to you by Science, former RISE, the Research Centre of Excellence in Cyprus, focusing on interactive media, smart systems and emerging technologies. For more information, please check our website on science.org.cy.